Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my viewers all over the world, depending where you are watching me from. Today, I present to you a topic that I capture, make it work or push to start. But before then, in the year 1687, a man with the name Sir Isaac Newton propounded two theories, which we call the Newton laws of motion. These three statements laid the background for classical physics and modern engineering. The first law states that an object will continue in its state of rest until it is acted upon by an external force. This is also called the law of inertia. The second law states that force is equal to the product of mass and acceleration. The third law states that action and reaction are equal and opposite. Here, the interpolation of this law on man's day-to-day spiritual and physical activities. From the first law states that an object will continue in its state of rest until it is acted upon by an external force, which means this Bible, this laptop will remain here for 1 billion years unless it is acted upon by an external force. In life, nothing works until you make it work. Things don't just happen. Prophecy don't just manifest itself. A lot of us, the first mistake we usually do is thinking that prayer can do all things, that prayer can do the work our hands to do. James chapter 2 and from verse 17, I want to read it for us. James chapter 2 from verse 17 says that for faith without work is dead. Other translation would say faith itself without work is dead. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter how big your faith is, if you don't work, nothing will work. Because sometimes we end up raising prayer giants and broke failures. This is not because God doesn't answer prayers. No, God answers prayers. But the God who said in Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 12 that I will bless the works of your hand is that same God that blesses works of our hand. God doesn't bless anyhow people. God can't just come and bless you anyhow without having something to do. No. Manna, the word manna doesn't exist. That is why I don't even believe in what we call miracle money. Because heaven doesn't credit anyone's salary. There are no banks in heaven. I need you to know this. Because a friend some time ago, somebody told me that God told him he was going to become a medical doctor. He didn't write JAMB. He never wrote JAMB. He never seek for admission. All he was capitalizing on is God said I was going to become a medical doctor. God said I was going to become a medical doctor. He went to the mountain to pray until he kept praying, kept believing God, thinking that miracle will happen. No, miracle don't just happen like that. The first law where we read that nothing works until you make it work. You don't just sit down doing nothing and think things will change. No. Life does not move forward until we make it move forward, until we push it forward. Everything is not answerable to prayers. I want you to notice. Everything is not answerable to prayers. There are things that are not answerable to prayers. Why prayer open doors? But I need you to know, but before that door would open, there are certain things as human we need to do. Because in the body of Christ today, something is common. You see somebody going to work on Monday or going to church on Monday to pray, Tuesday to pray, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wasting your economic hours praying for money, praying for miracle you know that your hand can give you. I'm not trying to undermine the place of miracle, of divine intervention. God, the miracle exists. Miracles are real. There's always a place of divine intervention. But I need you to know that every success you see in life is directly proportional to hard work, provided prayer is kept constant. Anyone that wants to succeed must have this at the back of his or her mind. That one, you must work as if all depend on you and pray as if all depend on God. That is a balanced equation. Most of us don't know how to balance this equation, and we think God could just come from heaven and drop this laptop here for us. We could think we will leave our kitchen bare and go out, and coming back we're going to meet a pot of egusi. Things don't just work that way. So today I want you to make up your mind that you are going to make your life work. Push and start. Push it to start. God hates laziness. God himself worked for 6 days in a week. Monday to Saturday he worked. He rested just a day in a week. So if God, whom we are looking up to, could work for 6 days in 7 days, what about you? What are you doing? When we read in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 12, he said, I will bless the works of your hands. What do you have? What are you doing? Which problem are you solving? Yet you blame God. You go to you go to church. You write 10 things you want God to do for you. 50 things you want God to do for you in 2025, in January, from January 1st or December 31st. Yet the year is almost coming to an end and nothing is happening to you, and you are beginning to blame your pastor. That is as if God didn't call your pastor. The fault is not from your pastor, the fault is from you. Because the day you wrote those things, you refused to draw an algorithm. You refuse, just as you brought your prayer request to God, there are no action plan backing it up. And without actions, nothing will happen. Without you taking action, nothing is going to happen. That is the implication of the first law of motion. The second law said F is equals to ma, which is force is equals to the product of mass and its acceleration. Bring your ear to me. Listen to me. The greater the force you apply, the more results you see. Whatever you sow, you are going to reap it. For you to see acceleration, for you to amass wealth and see acceleration, you must first of all apply force. Bible speaking, it says, arise and shine. The responsibility of arising is you. Then the shining is of the Lord. But for you to shine, you must first of all arise. Bible didn't say, I will arise you and for you to shine. No. Great responsibility have been saddled upon you. And without you waking up to this reality, you will continue to see failure in your life. You continue to complain. From January to December, you are complaining that God said this, God said this, God said. Now that God has said it, what are your action plans? How do you intend this thing to achieve itself? God says He's going to give you money, and you are expecting God to credit you with heaven's alert, as if there are UBAs and First Bank there. No! You need to walk. You need to put things in action. You need to put your life on motion. So for you to see acceleration, for you to accelerate in life, for you to see speed and amass mass in life, you must first of all apply force to it. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to make up your mind from today that you are going to excel. In Mark chapter 5, if you read from verse 25, the woman with the issue of blood said, if only I can touch the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. You are aware that that woman was not in the agenda of Jesus, but she made up her mind to make a move. That singular act, that singular movement she did changed her entire life and her story. She refused to sit down in one place. She refused to give excuses. She refused to say to herself, besides, I've been spending money, I've been going to hospital, I've been spending all money, nothing has happened in my life. No! She refused to be redundant. She made up her mind that if only I can touch the hem of Jesus' garment. And she made a move. Her disability, she found ability in her disabilities. While she was taking this move, I believe by then, so a woman who have suffered that much, she was already stinking and people were giving way for her. But she said to herself, the focus, the goal is to touch. I don't care what will happen. I don't care what Jesus is going to do. My own, I have a responsibility. My responsibility is to apply force. My responsibility is to take a move. Ladies and gentlemen, she took a move, and lo and behold, what happened to her life? She was healed by that action. If she had sat down in the congregation, if she had sat down in one place saying everything is going to work, no problem, I don't need to work, ladies and gentlemen, she would have died of that issue. But that singular act she took changed her trajectory in life. In Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7, Bible speaking, it said, God cannot be mocked. Whatever a man sow, he reap. So I need you to know that if you don't sow, you can't reap. If you don't take a move, nothing will move in your life. Force is product of mass and its acceleration. So for you to see mass and acceleration, you must first of all apply force to it. That is why I say make it work. Push to start. Push it. Push that business to start. Push that marriage to start. If God had told you that you are going to get married to that lady, God is not going to toast that girl for you. In fact, God has stopped presenting women before men. The first and the last he did was for Adam, and they failed him. You know, while Adam was relaxing, God presented Eve before him and said, this is your flesh, this is your wife. They disappointed him. From that day, the entire scope changed. The ideology behind that changed entirely. And he now said, from today, for a man shall leave his father's house. Meaning, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. That is, you must go in search of a wife. You must go in search of whatever you want. If you love this car, go for it. If you want that job, prepare yourself for it. Upskill for it. Don't just sit in one place and think life is going to change for you. Life does not give and take. Life take and give. It is what you give to life, life give to you in return. From Galatians, where we read chapter 6 and from verse 7 to 9, he said, God cannot be mocked. Whatever a man sow, he shall reap. So if you read Genesis chapter 26 and from verse 12, the Bible said, in the same year, Isaac sowed and he reaped in double folds, in 100 folds. Isaac was able to reap the same year there was famine in the land because he sowed. Without sowing, there can't be reaping. Without sowing, there can never be abundance. Isaac experienced that supernatural abundance because he applied his humanly force to it. He refused to sit down. He refused to fold his hands and complain. You know, a lot of you know how to complain that Nigeria is bad, the economy is bad, people, everything is going bad. I need you to know this, that despite the economic quagmire in Nigeria, people are still buying houses. People are still buying cars. Statistically, people import over 1,000 vehicles into Nigeria every day. And these vehicles, people are buying them. We are in 2025. Nigerians have already pre-ordered 2026 cars. By November, you start seeing 2026 cars in Nigeria. And you want to sit down and say the economy is bad. The economy is not bad. It is you that is bad. I need you to know. It is you that is bad, not the economy. Change this mindset. Change this mentality. The third law of motion states that action and reaction are equal and opposite. So on this premise, I want you to know that to every action there are corresponding consequences. To every decision you take, there are corresponding consequences. Corresponding consequences. Whatever you release, you reclaim. Whatever you release, you reclaim. To every release, there are corresponding reactions and returns. You need to know this. That whatever you do in life, there are correspondences. If you sow well, you will reap well. If you sow laziness, you will reap poverty. If you sow hard work, you will reap wealth. That is what I want you to know this. Not as if God called me. God told me 10 years ago that I'm going to become great. God told me this. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No. Beyond what towards here the Lord. You know, prayer is a raw material. Prophecy is a raw material. For you to become finished material, energy needs to be put in place. Force needs to be enacted. You need to take the move for it to be activated. Even Jesus, while he was on earth, he was still working. He was still going about doing his father's work. Because he knows that he couldn't just sit in one place and make declaration and things will just start happening. You can't just sit in your bedroom and feel you're going to fulfill prophecy. No. No man lights a candle and put it under the bed. You must first of all go and put it up where people will see it. Ladies and gentlemen, if whoever that sow laziness will reap poverty. In Luke chapter 5, if you take your reading from verse 6 of Luke chapter 5, the Bible said, and when Peter casted his net on the account of Jesus, and when Jesus said, he caught fish that he couldn't catch all his life. Do you know why? Because he casted his net. That casting of net is the action. The reaction was the corresponding fish he caught. So without casting his net, there's no way God is going to fill his net for him. You can't just drop your net at home and think God is going to fill your net with fishes for you. No, it's not going to work. You need to go out to fish. Peter went out to fish. Immediately he casted his net. Miracle happened. So miracle wouldn't have happened. There's no miracle of casting net for you. You can't keep your net in the boat and you just see the net will just stand up, rise, cast itself inside the net, and fish will enter, and the net will still drag itself into your boat and still paddle your canoe to the shore for you. It is a lie. It can't work like that. Like I said, manna, God has stopped giving manners. Manna have ceased. The first thing Peter did was to cast his net on the account of Jesus. That was his action. And the reaction, according to the third law of motion, was the fish he caught. So his action brought about the corresponding fishes he caught that day. So for you to see results in your life, ladies and gentlemen, you must first of all work. Make it work. That thing the enemy say it's not going to work. It's not working because you allowed it to happen. If you refuse to give up, even giving up will give you up for your sake. I need you to know this, and it will help you. Heaven respond to earthly action. Heaven respond to earthly action. Provocation leads to invocation. If you don't invoke God, He can't come down. If you don't act, God can't react. If you don't act, if you don't take action, you can never see the reaction of God. He said, ask and it shall be given unto you. That ask there is your action. Knock, it shall be open. You know what it is to knock the door? Because when you want to knock the door, definitely your hand is going to pin you. Action is required. Force is required for you to knock the door. You're going to exert force on that knocking. So the ripple effect of that knocking is going to be the door will open. So God didn't say, don't knock the door will just be open. No. Enough of laziness. Enough is enough to complain. Sitting down in one place and complaining. God say, I'm going to become this. He has not done it. Is God a liar? Is the prophet a liar? Enough of all of those things. In fact, if any prophet is to even tell you what God wants to do in your life, that should just be a reminder. It shouldn't be a yardstick for you to go and sit down in one place. Stop wasting your economic hours. Stop going to church to pray when you are supposed to go to work, and stop going to work when you are supposed to go to church to pray. When you go to the mountain today, you see people staying there for months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. In fact, I met somebody that been on the mountain for 4 months, and I asked him, why are you here? He says, because of his landlord. What happened? He said, he haven't paid his landlord. That came to pray. Instead of you to go and look for a way of paying your landlord, you choose to go to the mountain to go and pray for your rent to be paid. And when God refuse to pay that rent, now you start blackmailing God that God is not good. God is that. God is this. No. Ladies and gentlemen, God is God. God is a good God. He hears prayer. He answers prayer. The reason you haven't seen that thing is because you are yet to run with that vision. He said, though the vision is yet for an appointed time, even though it's going to tarry, it will speak. But one thing will make it speak. You must run with it. Write it bold. So that you are walking, you are reading it. It should be your motivator. Prophecy should be your motivator. It shouldn't be the reason you are lazy. When you sow laziness, you are going to reap laziness. 3 things I will tell you before I go. Hear me. Now, miracle don't happen in the comfort of inactivity. Miracle doesn't happen in your comfort of inactivity. If you don't work, miracle cannot happen. That's number 1. God work with moving vessel, not idle vessel. God in his infinite mercy only work with moving vessels, not idle vessels. The last, don't just wait for it, make it work. Don't just wait for it, make it work. That thing can still work. Your marriage can still work. That business can still work. And I want to pray for you this day, that in the name of Jesus, may God take away every spirit of laziness from you. But I need you to know that prayer and fasting cannot solve what laziness costs in your life. The only therapy to it, the only antidote to it is hard work. It's for you to work to break yourself out of whatever laziness have caused for you. I pray for you. May your light shine before men from today. May God give you global visibility. May God help you today. God bless you. Don't forget to like this broadcast, share it, and comment on it.